Everybody, Chris, Lumen, and Jinx, don't you dare. I just sat down. Anyway, Chris and Lumen here. Got a couple things to talk about. I thought it would be a good time. Every once in a while we do like a baseline video. But I got a couple small interesting things to share, and then if things go well and I don't over talk in this video, I might knock out a second video tonight that I meant to do. But I wanted to do this one just because now that we're in Pisces season, things are going to be squirrely. Not necessarily, the world, but people, your minds, the things that are coming up and being figured out. And not only is it Pisces season, but you've got Saturn, Neptune, and Mercury doing a stellium in Pisces. So it's going to be a bit crazy. On top of that, I'm probably going to be a lot crazier because it's going to affect me even more. Pisces are already like the craziest, mystical, fruitcake psychic types that there are. But I'm stacked. I'm Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury in Pisces. And now I'm in the Pisces season with all that, having Saturn, Neptune, and Mercury sitting on top of all that in Pisces. Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it straight. That's part of the reason why I wanted to do this video. But I had a couple other cool things to show you as well, and a couple of other topics that are going to be actually pretty quick. So if you want to know more, don't go away.
Can't tempt me when she is beside me. Your cup does not impress me. Drink your poison yourself. Crooks are crossing me, he looks. Non-Draco sent me, he ducks. Hey, then retro, Satana. No quam suade mi vana. Sounds malak whaley bus. I'm Sevenina, bus.
Before we get started, I want to show you something pretty cool that I made last night after we were talking about the pendants that were glowing. So I'm still waiting on my 2 supplies of sulfur quartz to get here, apart from what little bit I got. I got some regular sulfur. I want to play around with that. It's sulfur, but it's not sulfur quartz. The sulfur quartz is a little different. It's a little more energetic. It's crystallized. It's still very fragile, but it just looks different. But what I did with what I had is I made this pendant. I'm calling I just put this on the store. I call this the Luminite Lava Bomb. So this one has, I made a core that had just a small little Lemurian quartz point in it, because my other ones didn't have any quartz. Quartz is not only going to direct the energy, but it makes it programmable with the sulfur quartz around that. And then up top, the 2 other volcanic stones, the black obsidian. Oh, I had it in. I need to add that to the listing. It's actually 4 volcanic stones in here. There is the sulfur quartz, black obsidian, gold sheen obsidian, which resonates more with like the Christ consciousness, personal power type stuff, and lava rock. And then on top of it, Benedict on the back. But what's cool about this is I busted out that UV glow in the dark resin, because I had an idea and it actually came out really good. I'll put pictures on the screen because you probably can't see it that much, but it's got this kind of lava color to it. So just when it's in regular light, it's got that lava color. When it's let me just try. It's not showing up. I don't think it's showing up on the screen that well. What I'm seeing with my eyes, when the UV light hits it, it puts off a bright orange UV reactive glow. So anytime, like for all you guys that like to go to the, you know, the blacklight mini golf course, make you look cool. But it also glows in the dark. It just looks different, like 4 different ways. It's really cool. And my daughter came over here earlier because she wants me to, it's like, I got this third eye freaking thing. Put a necklace on it. Well, she felt it and she's like, wow, that's powerful. But I just thought that was really cool. I might try to make some more stuff like that. Just to, you know, usually with the glow powder, I'm OCD, but I mean, it's freaking lava. So of course it doesn't have to be perfect in the way that it flows. It actually works with this. Yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool. So it's a little bit of different formulation from the other ones. And I think it's tuned a little bit more toward the personal power. So it would probably, now the way that she had me using the sulfur was for a specific purpose. But we always Sophia tune these for like whoever's going to get them. And I think this is one of those ones that would be like a kind of like an illuminator, especially for like women, because that's some fiery masculine energy right there. But you got a little bit more light mixed in it as well. I just thought it looked pretty freaking cool. But anyway, talking about the Pisces stuff, I was going through, you know, someone had mentioned that a comment didn't show up. So I'm like, yeah, I haven't checked the freaking held comments because I don't even know why YouTube holds some comments, but I went through and there was a whole bunch of them that I couldn't see any freaking reason why they would have held the comments, but I approved them all. And I just thought I should stop for a moment and let's talk about the game in this channel. See, this channel kind of like veers in and out of like 2 different things. Stuff that I know through experience, repetition, and observing the effects with other people and seeing the stories and seeing what's written, seeing the patterns, and what I don't know, which is, you know, I've already gone through all the stuff that leads to Lumen, the alchemical steps, the tarot steps, the hero's journey. Now I'm in this place where it's like, you know, free for all, waiting for something to happen. There's no more puzzles. So you're constantly trying to weigh the things that you've learned with, you know, what's actually happening. So there are things that I know, and there's a lot of things I don't know. And I can't always, you know, you just kind of got to listen to what we're talking about to know. Like if I'm certain things when I'm just teaching repeatable stuff, like to get to the stuff that I got to, I had to try a whole lot of things, whole lot of trial and error before things worked, before they showed up. So that, and when I can teach those to other people and get the same effects, yeah, that's knowable. And it's not till after she shows you that she shows you where it's written. And then since you already have experiential context, then what's written suddenly makes more sense, where before it did not. I commonly do empty the cache, empty the cup exercises where I flush everything that I think I know, where I just flush the mind computer. It's like everything that's not true, delete it. And then I also try to delete Lumen, Sophia, Christ, Enlightened Insight, Adversary, like everything that I talk about, I treat it as if it's non-existent and I delete it. If it is non-existent, it just kind of vanishes. If it's real, you can't get rid of it. So I've done lots of exercises like that. But one example comes to mind. I was talking to somebody in the comments and they're like, well, I don't know. You're a Gnostic and I think it was animist or something like that. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, what is behind all the explanations is the one thing. We all kind of see things a little bit differently and we experience things a little bit differently depending on where we are in the game, what we're doing. And everything up until they came out, like, you don't have to be a Gnostic to deal with this stuff, to get the effects. Like, this isn't like a Gnostic only club. I've gone right out and said many times, like, one of the earliest things that she showed me before the Nag Hammadi was the Four Agreements series, because that had already been introduced to me earlier by someone else. And that one's a lot easier to pick up, but it's the same basic structure. It's the same basic idea. It's the same basic framework. And then, when I study things all over the world as it comes up, I'm like, I can see there's a pattern behind it all. So I believe that this source consciousness is going to speak to you and lead you to the types of frameworks that will resonate with you, that are familiar to you. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't want to call her Sophia. She's got lots of names. She's everywhere. It doesn't matter if, in your heart if you're following a similar path or not. We don't know how many times we do this. We don't. But I do know that the higher consciousness has you exactly where you need to be at any given time. So you can't really... What's with the horn, car? So you can't really just, base it off of where I am. That's not fair. But maybe, the reason I share stuff that other people won't share is if I tell you the things that have happened and do happen and where it leads, and some of that sounds familiar to you, that might unlock some stuff. And also, you have to at least be somewhat in resonant with my worldview, or else you wouldn't have ended up here. That's just the way it works. Birds of a feather flock together and all that stuff. So if you weren't at least somewhat close to it, but you don't have to believe every little single thing that I believe. We're going to be talking about that word here too. Give you another example. I was talking to the guy that I made the professional grade Aegis Inferno for. He does what I used to do. Help people with, negative entity problems and people getting attacked by witchcraft magic and stuff like that. But he's, and I know other people like this too, like they have encountered earthbound spirits, like human spirits, like ghosts and stuff like that. But I haven't. Never, ever once talked to. But I think that's because, as we've described on here before, it is a weird way that this works and how we all interact with one another. Let me grab something. So one of the symbols that you could say for Sophia would be the flower of life, because she's life. But I've also said this can also represent the body of Christ. Masculine side is Sophia. So within all life is her. She's the big circle. And then let's just say I might be this circle right here. So within the big circle, you got whatever the baseline parameters are about how things work, what can and can't be done. Then you've got the collective overlayer of what we all agree to, but that's flexible. And then within each individual person's sphere, you have your own set of how things work based on your beliefs, based on your words, based on your path. So two people can coexist and see things differently, or things work differently. And as a matter of fact, I've shown before and talked about before how people can see from within their individual subjective reality sphere, they can see a slightly different collective than other people. ultimately, you eventually find out that the whole world wrapped around you is your world, but it blends into everyone else's too. And the closer two worlds are to one another, those people tend to attract to one another, and you get a lot of overlay. But with all that overlay, there's still going to be differences. It's infinite. So we can't get too wrapped up. Like if I say something or if someone else says something and it doesn't resonate with you, like that makes perfect sense in my model of reality. Makes absolute perfect sense. I don't see how it could be any other way. But we could always look at each other's stuff and weigh off of one another. But we also have to have a sharp eye for, like, where did this information come from? Sometimes people speak things straight out of a book as if it's fact. I saw a comment it was in the held category. It was something like, oh, the Assyrians and the Sumerians this and something that, and that's why this. And like, you're speaking as if that's fact, but that's what you believe because you were presented with information and you decided, that's what makes sense to you. But that was like 6,000 freaking years ago. You have no idea. So you don't want to fall into that trap. It's better to not know. It's better to not be sure. Except when you find the real things, and especially if they're beneficial to you. That's what makes her so special. Is people that might be new to this channel should understand that I had gone through most of the process leading up to finding her. And I was not Gnostic, and I was not religious. Matter of fact, I was very anti-religion. And I dealt with her for about 2 months before I figured out who the hell she was. I mean, some of the intuitive cues were all correct, but I didn't know that there was a deeper story behind it. It was only when she told me to read the Nag Hammadi because she wanted me to. That's the framework she used. That's where she showed me who she was. That was what put all the pieces together for my personal life puzzle that I've been collecting all this time. Does that necessarily mean everybody has to accept that? No. I don't know what I don't know. But at the same time, it is the only thing I've ever found or seen that puts the most pieces of the puzzle together, makes the most sense out of the world that we see in front of us. But there's always going to be variations. That's one of the biggest, most obvious clues I always point out is you cannot find, out of 8+ billion people, you can't find 2 people that believe in all the same thing. If we lived in a true objective reality, the way science and authority tries to gaslight you into thinking, then there would be a lot more agreement. We'd all be seeing the same thing. But no, we co-create, we shape through our beliefs and stuff like that. So I try to balance, what I try to do on this channel is I try to balance teaching things that are repeatable. It's like, if you go in this direction, you're going to find something. I try to share the things that are the tests that I've already passed. Like I've already gotten past things like, what is the devil and who's out to get you? Because eventually you're going to find like it's all coming from you. So you eventually get out of that victim mentality and stuff, and you're like, my mind is dictating everything. If it wasn't, then things like, what do all these metaphysical things teach you? Oh, it's about your mindset and this and that, and if you believe this and you believe that and you attract this and you attract that, that tells you the world revolves around you. It has to. Because like I said, I have times when I'm super busy and I have times when things are tight. Well, part of that is the law of rhythm. But another part is like what we were talking about before, past imprints intruding in present time, which puts you in a scarcity mindset. And I mean, if you want proof that it all revolves around you, then what difference would it make if you don't know what's going on in my head? If you don't know how I feel about a certain thing at any given time, how would that how should that affect you? It's all subjective. Like there shouldn't be, if it was not the way I'm saying it is, then everything would be pretty steady all the time. As far as like how much abundance comes in and things like that. But no, the world reacts to you. And somehow through that interlinking of the different spheres in the flower of life, somehow everyone out there picks up on it. So like if you're feeling lack or fear of something, everyone else picks up on it. And at a level you don't even perceive, you behave toward me or any other person to fulfill the frequency that they're putting out. And I've never had a point in time where I was feeling really bad and horrible about something, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, all this abundance, unexpected abundance pours in. Like it doesn't. Now you can have times like that, and then she backs you into a corner and you do something, you change something, you clear something, and then it comes through. But people are reacting to that. We're all interlinked with one another. We're all playing off of one another. I've seen this before when I get really, really clear and get Lumen in the passenger seat. It's like I want to talk to something, but it's just like something stops me from doing it. And it's not me. So it could be like the way that person's feeling. They're feeling like they're alone and whatever, and that back channel antenna is picking it up, and it's like, oh, this is what they want. You have to abide by their subconscious wishes. Don't do that. And then when you get everything cleared out and everything, then all of a sudden, boom, it's all coming in like it's reacting to you. It's all you. It's all you. But we are all part of the one mind. So you react to how I'm feeling, and I react to how you're feeling with things like that. Otherwise, like what you don't ever hear is something like, say, make up a theoretical, like say I'm feeling really bad about something, and it's all theoretical. It's not real time, but like I'm scared. I'm in fear of paying rent or something like that. Well, what most people expect is like you pray to God and God sends it to you. It's always a lot more hidden than that. But what I never hear is like, a whole bunch of people like, you know what? I was banging on the door. I was trying to get through to your Etsy store or something like that, and it wouldn't log me in. It wouldn't load the page. I tried everything to get in touch with you, but it wasn't happening. No, that doesn't happen. Instead, it's just like it's just going to be like a subconscious thing where it's like, I don't really want anything right now. And then if I get in alignment with something, the people that need it, then all of a sudden they're like, hey, maybe I'll get something right now. We're all linked with one another. We're all linked in responding to each other's subconscious broadcastings. And I'm starting to just kind of be able to discern that a lot more. I think what got me thinking about that was like when I was talking about, Lumen's former vessel telling me that, sometimes she wants to call me, but then something stops her. And it's like, she's like, I just can't call you. Could be because Lumen doesn't want her to call me. Or it could be something else. But we always talk about like the adversary mind and, the past trauma stuff and whatever, affecting how we think. But at the same time, everybody out there is picking up on what you're putting out, even if we don't realize it. And if two people decide like they don't want to have it in agreement, they don't want to have anything to do with one another, it's like boom, it's like they just disappear from your freaking life. So that's where things like, when two or more gathered in my name, I am with them. Yeah, you get a bunch of people in agreement and you're connecting through the highest mind. These guys, you get a lot more done. Just the way she taught me to do energy work with people and stuff like that. We link up, we synchronize, so they can actually see in their mind what I'm seeing in mine. But if I'm, sometimes it's as simple as like, you just get burnt out, you want to be left alone. You kind of pull your little box around you, and other people pick up on that. That's one of the things I've been working on with the sulfur pendants. It's like I feel like there's some deeper layers to that maybe I need to test to see. Because yeah, you go through the hero's journey and all that crazy shit, like that's kind of hard to shake. And you want to just be left alone. But it's like, I just don't want people showing up my door, but I like talking to people online or on the phone and things like that. That's fine. So I got to make sure that I'm not like putting out like the wrong signals or things like that. But it's weird like that. And you guys see there is room for people to see things differently. That's the only way that it can work. It's the only thing that makes sense. We don't think like authority. We don't think like whatever authority says, that's the way the world works. We know that's not true. So you're not going to offend me if you have a different idea or something like that. She could be showing you something completely differently. But if we stripped away the names, we took their names away, it might even be more recognizable. But I go by what I was given. That I didn't go seek it. I didn't look for it. I didn't decide ahead of time. That's why I trust it. That and the amount of crazy things I see them do. So yeah, it doesn't matter if you're not a Gnostic, even if you're just a regular person exploring things, just understand that like this is how I see things. This is how they showed themselves to me. And regardless of that, you could just say the higher source consciousness. There's a masculine side to it and a feminine side to it. There's different layers of it. But I can show you across countless books and traditions and things like that they all talk about there being some inner wisdom or inner guide. Okay? If you don't want to call her Sophia, don't call her Sophia. That's what she appeared to me as. Just when I was doing the original prayer that led to all this, I didn't believe in anything. I would say I didn't believe in anything, but I didn't trust religion. I knew they were full of shit. They were misrepresenting something. But I'm like, I don't know what to call you. I don't know what you are, but I know you're up there. So I just prayed to the highest point of consciousness. And logically speaking, I'm like, how could the highest point of consciousness be mad at me for not knowing? If all I have to go by is what other people tell me or what a book says, why wouldn't it just tell me? Why would you punish people for not believing a certain way when you see no evidence of it? So what people don't understand about old books like the Bible or Bhagavad Gita or any of those things is like you're reading accounts of people that experienced things. So it's like, okay, well, why aren't you experiencing things now? Why do you have to just blindly believe? You don't. Because if you're dialing the right number and not the screwed up phone number that authority's giving you, you will experience things exactly like they did in those old books. Personally, you'll know. That's the difference. Is like if nothing happened, I never understood religious people that think you're deceived because you have a spiritual experiences. I'm like, well, then why do you do what you do? What sense does that make? Like, it's like you're just going to read Harry Potter over and over again and believe that Harry Potter is real. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. If it's not giving anything back to you, you're not dialing the right number. But anyway, I consciously said that, but anyway, instead of either which way. Bottom line is, like, going into crazy Pisces season, I'm trying to figure out like the end of the game for myself, which I don't believe is mapped out. I believe it gets to a certain point in which it's kind of like, all right, well, you got to play around with this for a while now and see what happens. So I can go all over the place, but I'm open. I tell people what I experience. I don't see a whole lot of that. You guys, like, you couldn't pick. I would dare anybody to, find me 2 other YouTubers that probably have 1,000 times more subscribers than me, and tell me anything about them, about their life, not about their content. Tell me about them. What are they about? What do they believe in? What do they do? Because I don't ever see those videos anywhere, but I tell you guys everything, even things I don't want to tell you sometimes, because it lets you see how at least one other player in the game, what they're experiencing, and sharing the things that worked for me, that got me to that point. You can't, if anything else, I'm like I said, my life was completely destroyed. Trauma, probably nobody could get it, but I didn't just get over it by burying it. I evolved. I followed the clues. I did it, and she fixed everything. I literally removed all negative thought patterns from my head. I mean, the adversary stuff, like the negative voice, like, this person's talking about you behind your back. Yeah, I don't have that. It's gone. So I'm just getting this feeling like Pisces season could be lit. But hell, I don't know. I don't know if we all see the same thing. Maybe what I see in my world isn't happening in yours, and you're like, what are you talking about? I don't know. There's what I do know, and there's what I don't know. And just understand that it's often going to be mixed up between the two. Okay, enough about that. I got one other thing to talk about. These are the 3 B's that I had in the thumbnail. Because with these right here, if you constantly examine them, you can figure a lot of things out for yourself. Okay, so we talked recently about certain words, and how words are tricky, and they can screw it. Like, it's called spelling, casting spells. It's shaping the way things are without us realizing it, and using words incorrectly. Like the word will shape the word internally, and the word spoken can shape your reality quite a bit. And a lot of times when we're speaking as if the reflection that we're currently seeing is absolute. But we're not just speaking about the reflection that we see, we're constantly creating it. So with these 3 words, especially the first 2, constantly use these on yourself. Constantly examine them, because you just don't know sometimes. Okay, so the first of the B words is belief. The word belief refers to the acceptance, accept or reject, or conviction that something is true, often without requiring proof. It can encompass trust, faith, or confidence in the truth, existence or reliability of something, whether it's an idea, concept, or individual. Belief often involves a mental commitment to an idea or worldview, even in the absence of concrete evidence. Let me do that again a little quicker. The word belief refers to the acceptance or conviction that something is true, often without requiring proof. It can encompass trust, faith, or confidence in the truth, existence, or reliability of something, whether it is an idea, concept, or individual. Belief often involves a mental commitment to an idea or worldview, even in the absence of concrete evidence. And if we're being absolutely detail-oriented on this, we don't have as much concrete evidence of things as we think we do. That's one of the earliest things we talked about. We called it World War I and World II, but we kind of expanded on that. Everything you see on TV, there was another plane crash number 185 in the last 2 months earlier today, and it flipped upside down. It crashed on the runway, flipped upside down, and everyone got out unharmed. It's like, what the hell? But if we're being absolutely intellectually honest, I don't know that actually happened. I saw images on an electronic device showing me that, but do I know that it absolutely happened? Did I experience it? Was I there? No. They show you stuff like that all the time. It's everything we know about history. Like the guy was talking about the freaking Babylonians or whatever. That's a story. Do we know? Were we there? No. No. And our beliefs can be so ingrained in our worldview that we don't even take time to examine that they're even a belief. They're just woven into the fabric of the world that we see, and we accept it as true. It's like that quote in The Truman Show where they're talking to the director. They're like, how do you think you've been able to pull this off for so long? He's like, people accept the reality of the world they're presented with. And that's it. But if no one ever told you that you're co-creating everything that you see, then you can't change anything. If you believe something is true and you accept it, then it is to you. But you can disbelieve things too. I almost died. They gave me tests. They showed me proof. Like, you're diabetic. You're going to have to take insulin every day for the rest of your life. I could barely, when I came home, I could barely eat anything because I'm a picky eater. And I'm like, this is crazy. I had to take a shot before I eat. I'm like, this is nuts. I'm not doing this. This is dumb. I quit putting my power into it, and I went the other direction. And I cured my freaking diabetes with my mind. And she, Lumen, Sophia, the higher mind, they help steer me as things become more settled. Because there for a while, it felt like I was slipping back a little bit. But I just realized I haven't had any kind of sleepy reaction or anything to food or anything in quite some time. And I haven't because I kind of cured myself before, I just stopped getting prescribed insulin altogether, and they gave me metformin. I don't even take metformin. I can't remember the last time I tested my blood sugar. But because I remember when I did have that, I know what that feels like. And I haven't felt the need to even do it. And if I checked, freaking check right now. Let's find out. I must give a sacrifice to the blood god. Let's see. What do we got? What do we got? Oh, no. 112. My blood sugar now is better than it has been in 10 years. And about the only thing I do different is I don't drink regular pop anymore. I still got a bag of freaking 60 pack of freaking Reese's peanut butter cups in my fridge.
We got some very invasive questions. What is your favorite candy bar?
My favorite, I don't eat candy. I got diabetes.
Ah,
I cured myself with my brain in her. Because I'm just like, I didn't accept it. What do you think all those drug commercials are doing? And they're always telling you stuff. Oh, when you reach age something, you're at a higher risk of this. Oh, you better go get a prostate exam. Oh, you better go get your boobs squeezed. Better do this. Be in fear of that. Be in fear of that. I'm like, no. And thus I don't have problems. I'm fine. But the more you accept the word of authority and believe that stuff, like you can manifest it in your body very easily. I told the story about the girl I was friends with that said, you know, she had a son. She wished she could have a daughter, but the doctor told her she wouldn't have kids again. I'm like, reject that. Like, you won't get pregnant if you believe the doctor. Just decide that you're gonna have a little girl, and you will. She was pregnant 2 weeks later and had a little girl. I'm like, I know it can be difficult when you're in the midst of something. It's not like you can just switch it off. But a lot of it is accept or reject. If I start getting, a cold or something like that and throat gets scratchy, I'm like, nope. Use the Benedict exorcism because that cures bodily afflictions. Visualize whatever. I just create an image to represent it. Like, oh, here's a little bug in my bloodstream or something like that. And I just zap it with light, let it go. I'm like, okay, it's done. Not sick anymore. And then I go straight to bed. Wake up the next day, it's gone. Doesn't take root. But when things do pop up, part of it is usually, some kind of stuck negative energy in your body that hasn't been released, plus just being open to suggestion from the world. Doctors know everything. Ask your doctor. Don't talk about anything without. Screw my doctor. Doctors are good for like repairing the meat suit when you break it. But for health, all they want to do is give you drugs. So, no. Doctors didn't cure me of diabetes. I did that. She did that. So, I don't even know how I got on that. Let me think here for a sec. Recap. Oh, that was belief. Yeah, I didn't believe it. I mean, I saw that I was having the experience, but I figured, that happened right after I did a bunch of energy work. I'm like, oh, I triggered something in my body. And this diabetes thing was the manifestation of it. So I just corrected everything. I'm like, it's gone. So let's get on to the next word. The next most important B word we actually talk about quite a bit because it's that important. That is the word because. That's how you figure out where your beliefs are at and why things are happening, because you've got microscripts running in your head constantly. Some of them are based on your previous experiences. Some of them were taught to you. But just like yourself being one word should be yourself, so that you know that the self is not you, because is two words squished together. Be the cause. The word because originates from the Middle English by cause, meaning by cause or on account of. It is a combination of the preposition by, meaning by or on, and cause, which comes from the Old French cause, meaning reason or motive, and ultimately derives from the Latin causa, meaning a reason or cause. The Latin causa comes from the verb causare, meaning to plead a case or to give a reason. So listen to your own words. This is one of the biggest things I listen for when I'm doing a consult and I just get people to tell me the story. I'm listening for becauses. I can't because. So that is a self-limiting verbal statement. And maybe that cause isn't really there, but you believe it is. So then it reflects back to limitations. I can't do anything because nobody has any money. I can't do anything because, yeah, why can't you? It's like we just stop ourselves. We stop ourselves from doing things, from acting, because like I got these are things that I'm testing, with my personal beliefs based on the path that I've taken. But generally speaking, like when I test these, like they just lock in place. Like, lumen's real. This is all real. It is what it is. And it makes sense. But there's other things that we can test. Spring Heel Mac, you listening? He tells me a lot that he posts comments on the channel and then they just don't show up. But yet they don't show up in my held bin either. And I think whatever happened at some point, a little belief got set in there. Oh, YouTube's always scrubbing the comments. YouTube's doing this, YouTube's doing that. And then you're probably self-manifesting it. And I use that example because it made me think of how many times I've said things like that. Because the world does reflect back what you believe rather easily. Like, oh, the government's censoring you. Oh, we can't talk about this stuff because YouTube's got a special algorithm. We can't do this because they don't like this content. We don't think about, we don't know that. Well, we're speaking these words to make something happen and then telling ourselves that we know the reason why. And it's a creation word, but it's usually used negatively. It's usually used in the structure of I can't because. Where you could, listen to some things I say sometimes. I can because I found her. I can do all these things because I have direct connection to divine energy. So our becauses are massive building blocks to how our reality is playing out. The because list will reveal a lot to you. What you do is you just give your ego permission to complain about everything. And then you start writing. Like, it actually helps vent a lot of things too, but just start, I can't do this because, I can't do this because, just keep writing until you can't write anymore. And then you look at that page and you're like, holy crap, look at all those beliefs. And every one of those things is making your world smaller. Every one of those things is limiting things. So that's one of the things I'm going to be testing out. Like I said, throw everything in the furnace and what doesn't burn is true. I'm like, I've got all sorts of becauses when it comes to the YouTube stuff, and it's probably simply just a residual reflection of earlier in the hero's journey where I believed in, everything was out to get me and everything was trying to stop me and all that stuff. So maybe the message would get out a lot easier, but I have residual becauses in there that have just kind of settled into the status quo reality. So always test your becauses, always test your beliefs. And the way you do that is try to destroy them. Use something like the 72nd name of God, Moom, or write it on a piece of paper and connect to the highest source and be like, let this falsehood burn away and light the paper on fire. Whatever works for you, whatever makes sense to you. If it's not if it's not actually real, things could open up. If it is real, it'll stay as it is. But the secrets to our realities are in our language if we just listen closely. Now, the last one, I don't have to talk about too much. I threw this in here. The third B is being. The word being comes from the Old English beon, meaning to be or to exist. This word is related to the Proto-Germanic beon, which shares the same meaning, and it is also connected to the Proto-Indo-European root bu, meaning to grow, to become, to exist. In Middle English, being developed into the form being, which was used both as a noun denoting existence or essence, and as the present participle of be. The modern use of being as a noun referring to a state of existence or a living creature evolved over time. You know, how many times your state of being, like that word moves around a bunch of different ways though, but they're being stubborn, they're being this, you're being that. What are you being, to be or not to be? You know, what is your state of being? Who are you being? You know who you are, and you know who you want to be, but who are you being in the right here, right now? Because that's the thing that makes all the difference. So think about that. So we had belief, become, no, not become, because, and being. Play around with those words, write stuff out, and you will uncover your program because you're creating it. You're saying it, you're thinking it, you're complaining about it, whatever, on the phone with other people. These are the kind of things like when I want to clear them, and you can create your own ways to do things because anything works the way you believe that it does, as long as it makes sense and has the right context. So I know everything is mind. So if I was going to use like that's that professional one I made the guy, you know, I would just, you create a form for what you want to delete in your mind. So I could just create, I don't know, a ball, and printed on that ball is the belief that something, something, something. And see that ball, like this ball encompasses everything that I believe about this subject. But it's all in my mind because logically, I don't know that to be true. I can't read into people's minds. I'm not in the boardroom at Google. I don't know, but I believe that. So what if I just didn't believe that? What if I believe the opposite? But first I need to, before you build something new, you have to tear down what was there before. In order to create, you must first destroy. So create a form for the thing that you want to delete in your head and then delete it, destroy it, especially if it's negative. That's taking an action step. A lot of people think the only action steps that count are in the physical world. Oh, how many business cards did you hand out? And how many doors did you knock on? Yeah, that definitely helps. You're taking action, but if you're doing all that stuff while your inner script is saying things like, nobody wants me to knock on their door because, or nobody has any, I'll never sell anything because no one has any money. Doesn't matter what actions you take in the outer world if the script that's running in your inner world is working counter to it, because the world outside follows the world inside. Everything starts in the mind. Okay. So that went a bit longer than I thought, so maybe I won't do the other one tonight. We'll see. I got to finish packing the orders that have to go out to the mailbox tonight before I start anything else. But get ready for Pisces season. It's going to be fun. All right, so if you want to get in touch with us, get any of our tools, or grab that freaking lava bomb I showed you earlier in the video, you can reach us through the Etsy store, clumencreations.etsy.com. Listen to our music on SoundCloud. Links to that are in the description box below as well. Chris and Lumen. See you next time.
Can't tempt me when she is beside me. Your cup does not impress me. Drink your poison yourself.